Thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Good morning, good afternoon, guys. I hope this is going to be informative because I found it to be extremely valuable when I speak to my client base. As many of you probably have experience, we also been in the ERP business for 30 years, and we're constantly looking for ways to add value to clients. And many of our clients have had long-term relationship with us. So I'm going to go ahead and start and share some of the experience that I have, and hopefully I will get questions and we can turn this into a good discussion. That is certainly my goal. The topic today is 3 key ideas that I found to be very valuable, and these are specifically targeted to distributors. So they're really not for every type of client. They're primarily for light manufacturers and distributors, wholesale distribution. The 3 things that I have discussed with them and that I've had success with in starting new projects with them is loyalty program, commission for salespeople and others, and some type of incentive programs for their dealer channel, and then protecting their price, essentially checking and explaining to the order entry staff, the sales staff, who have some flexibility in price discounting, how that costs them time, that costs them profit. Before I start, I just want to be clear that if there is a project, our standard referral fee is $5,000 per project with our partners, and we've worked with many consultants who've invited us to be part of their team. We are not after establishing our brand, so generally we work under the consultant's brand. The consultants provide us with an email account, even a business card, and we are part of their team. The projects generally are between 90 to 180 days, and that includes from the very beginning of discussion, interviewing, understanding the business flow. So it's a pretty short project. That's 3 months to 6 months. So the 3 ideas, what I generally do is, it's always a great idea to borrow from people who have a lot of credibility. So my first tactic that I use very effectively is I take a book with me. Sometimes I buy extra copies of the book. This book is from Jonathan Burns, and many of you might be familiar with. I've seen this in CFO's bookshelves when I walk into their office. And he's done a lot of research. There's a lot of blogs available, and you can look him up. It's called Islands of Profit in a Sea of Red Ink. What the book has realized is most business owners have a kind of a hunch, but not a clear idea that there is a percentage, a high percentage of whatever they're doing in their business is totally not profitable. In fact, it's losing their money, and that's 40% of their company. And that could be the way they're pricing for customers. They're not pricing based on specific customer segment. It could be the way they price their products. It could be a whole host of things. So I found that by bringing these ideas to them, it opens up a discussion, and it gives me an opportunity to focus on whatever they feel would be that 40%, and I get to analyze their business. I get to start a new project. So this is not about selling software. It's about helping clients get more value from you. So I would highly recommend this, and if you want to discuss this with me later, I'll be happy to do it. So this is the key part, is there's only 20 to 30% of the business is profitable, and it's subsidizing the rest of the company. The second idea is about the price. Most companies, after they've been in business for a while, gets pushed back from the clients and competition, and the price that they put on their order gets discounted. There are very few companies that can protect the pricing. But this idea from another Harvard professor explains that if they can protect even 1% of their price, it increases their profit by 11%. Wow, that's a huge ROI. A 1% price defense will result in an 11% increase in profit. So it's in their interest to be very careful about monitoring their business, establishing policies, because it can have a huge impact. The logic behind it is your fixed cost is not going to change because you're selling the same product to the same customer using the same staff, so your overhead is consistent, and you've just increased your top line, which increases your bottom line by 11%. So that's a very powerful idea. You'll see some people are skeptical, but just the fact that you're bringing it up shows that you've done some research and you care about your clients, and it just opens up all kinds of interesting conversation. The third idea is about the airline's mileage. Now, we've all been, we all know this effect. You know, we pull out the credit card, that gives us a cash reward or gives us airline miles. Even though we know very well the interest rate is higher on that credit card. What the research tells is that a $25 reward payment to a client will result in more than 200% return. So the client will spend more than $68 a month. Now, if your business is not very profitable, then this formula is not going to work for you. So you have to be very careful when you position it that you're not claiming to completely change the client's business. All you're doing is trying to be helpful, trying to give them better ideas. So those are the three ideas that I have primarily used to reintroduce myself to the CFO, to the controller, and start some discussion. It could be done over lunch, it could be done over coffee, it could be done when you visit them. Some of the industries that we have implemented this is beauty products, so beauty product distributors, hardware suppliers, wood flooring, electrical distributors, janitorial supplies. So really it works for almost every industry, because wholesale distribution industries, even though each industry is very, very different from each other, the processes of taking sales orders, pricing them out, shipping, having dealers, having salespeople, having e-commerce, all of those elements are present there. They might call it different things, and they might have a slightly different vision of it. So I'm not proposing one size fits all. I'm just saying that this is a great way to initiate a conversation with our clients. And we have successfully done that. So these are the three ideas that I'm going to show examples, and I would like to invite discussion in today's webinar. The ideal client, as I said before, is a wholesale distribution company. So a company that sells business to business, that sells to other businesses. Could be an importer, could be a manufacturer's representative. They generally have a warehouse. I do not focus on startup because I found that they have so many other challenges that this is not a great time to have conversation with them. I generally focus on companies that have been in business for a while and their growth has stalled or plateaued. And these are companies that have reached volume of about 5 million, sometimes 3, but around 5 million or higher. And they are just not moving rapidly. They're not growing as rapidly as they like. So they're very, very open to having discussions. The other thing that I check for is, are they selling through a dealership channel? So do they have their own dealers? Or they might have a sales team, so reps or those things. Once you have those pieces in place, then these three ideas that I brought up can add a lot of value to them. As far as SIC code, those are 50 SIC codes. And they're generally categorized as durable goods distribution. Again, It's not a one-size solution, one-size-fits-all solution. It's just a way for you to initiate conversation with those companies and generate business for you and increase and value for them. The typical process, if we were doing it, would be to set up an appointment with an existing client with the book and discussion, and once that opens up, we do a discovery. We document the flow that exists today. So we take an example. If they say, well, we want to automate our commission process, but it takes too long to process commissions. We get complaints from salespeople that the commissions are inaccurate, and just it ties up our customer service people and accounting with all the back and forth, and it doesn't really add to good feelings. So if that's one example, we would then completely do a flow of how they determine commission, what dates the person is responsible for, what do they go to review, how many Excel spreadsheets they do they communicate with the salesperson. The entire process we document in detail. And when you document that, you start to see duplication, you start to see things that could be easily automated. You could also see, they will point out once you show them the flow, because the flow is their words on paper, you get to have a conversation with them and they start to tell you where they feel the changes needs to be. Generally, the clients are the ones who know the answers. We're facilitating the discussion. Once they tell us where they see the problem, they will also tell you what the cost to their business is. And obviously, we've all had experience quantifying projects, the ROI. And that is something that we spend a lot of time on because it's key. If the cost is not high, then there is no priority for the client to move forward. So this is a good time to figure out whether do we have a project or it's something that should be left as is with a few tweaks here and there. If it turns out that there is a high cost to the company, sometimes the timeline in the proposal will be, instead of 1 year, it would be 3 years. So what we try to do is we try to look for 300%. So if the cost is, for example, $30,000, there should be a benefit to the client about $100,000 within a year. And that $100,000, then in the proposal, we multiply it by 5 years to give them a timeline and say, look, this is what you will benefit over 5 years once we complete the project. The basic process, once we have an approval from the client, is we get into programming, and our programmers are excellent designers. They will make a design that we can present to the client. Sometimes it's interactive, but we already have the tools created. So generally, we give them a working design, which leads to the prototype. We get feedback from the client that the prototype is close to what they want. It's generally the screens, the fields, the buttons. Then we populate with test data and we run some testing, and again we solicit feedback from the client. The client by this time is completely tuned in and they give suggestions on how to improve it. So then the design goes through a fundamental change because now the client can see their commission system coming to life and they want to tell us how it should be done. We complete all of those changes, then we do a further test, and if there's no other changes, we are then ready to go live. So we deliver the software, we produce documentation, and we provide support to the client. So it's a very simple process. Generally, the consultant like yourself would be managing the entire process, and we would be part of your team. So if you're interested in this kind of a process with us, perhaps you would want to establish some link, we can connect via LinkedIn, and then we can stay in touch. And when you come across a project and opportunity, and you can invite us in. If you feel that you provide this type of services, we'd be very interested in learning about what your specialty is and what your experience is. I'm currently updating my LinkedIn profile. I'm adding the 40 to 50 projects that I've done in the past, and I found a way to update LinkedIn, so I should be able to make it searchable and be available on LinkedIn. Our website, as you know, is optimizeurinventory.com. With that, I'm open to any Q&A, and I have some examples of the project that we've done. But I would love to invite some questions and discuss further with you.
We do have some questions, AJ. We have a question from Kathy. Regarding your pricing optimization point, do you have any suggestions about best practices on how to roll out price increases without making customers feel bad? The costs have changed significantly and the value has increased exponentially.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of, again, like I said, our approach has been that the client is the expert on their business, and they generally have a very good idea of what they want to execute. So we're actually executing their vision. The problem they've had in doing that kind of price protection or price increase is they cannot get information. So our goal is to give them the what if scenario, so they can plug in and they can say, if they did a 10% increase, what would be the effect on the sales? What would be the effect on the margins? And once they get that feedback, and it's all real time. So the goal of the software is to help the client do the what if scenario. And they can go back in history and they can see in the previous price increase how it increased their profit. They can see which products had reduced sales and how it impacted. So we've been very successful by providing the client with a software that goes back throughout their system and pulls it all together in a format that they can do this what if scenario, and they can check their price and margins, the effect on it. So and then leads to good decisions. And sometimes the decision might be that they don't want to touch that particular pricing, but they might on this particular item, but some other items they would. So there are items that are more elastic in terms of price elasticity. I hope that clarifies.
And we have another question from Robert. Do you have a referral program for working with other consultants?
I mean, the short answer is yes. We work in a collaborative environment because this is what we found, that none of us have a large enough team to completely do the project the way the client needs it. So many times, if you're asking whether we bring in consultants, we definitely do. We ask consultants to come and join in, especially if they have industry knowledge, if their domain is that particular industry. It could be medical equipment, could be industrial equipment, it could be janitorial supplies, could be electrical. If they have that knowledge, then obviously we would have a much higher success if they were part of our team. So we definitely partner every time. We always seek to partner.
And I do have a poll up. If I can just ask everyone to answer this poll. Do you have clients who have requested custom programming? If you could just take a moment, that would be awesome if we could get your feedback here. And Amjad, can you share some examples of
Yes.
Some clients that you've worked with in the past?
Yes, absolutely. So I was speaking about the commission. This is for a beauty supply distributor. This is also, we did something similar for industrial equipment. We did something like this for a wood flooring company. So the companies range in size from 7 million in annual sales to about 16 million. And they wanted to create a commission system that was based on cash, but also reflected any credits, especially when they were selling through Amazon. So there's some of these sales rep were getting credits for Amazon sales, and there would be a lot of chargebacks. There'd be extra freight. So the system would actually go through and calculate. So this is one section where you can see the screen. It looks very much like Excel. It actually has an Excel icon. So the columns were designed by the client. They told us exactly in what order and what information they wanted to see. The calculations was obviously given to us by the client, and we give them enough setup screens so they can, so things are not hard coded, so they can use it. So this is an example of a desktop application that is calculating commission and is telling them what the commission is. Similarly, this same screen, we're showing that we actually did a batch process for them because it was quite complex. You can export to Excel. It's showing you an example of an Excel export, because many of these clients were using Excel before, and then they would ask us to do something, but they felt very comfortable in Excel. So we always give them an option to go back to Excel by creating an export function. So this is an example of an Excel export. It shows that they have taken. It shows them all the detail, the orders, what was the check payment that they received, whether it was in, and whether there was credit notes processed. All of those information they wanted to see, whatever they saw on the screen, we'd export it out. This is another example of a report, and this would then also exist on the web for the sales rep who are not in the office to be able to log in securely. Because it's a custom application, we could actually build in security where they could be confident that a salesperson will never have access to another salesperson's data. So they could control all of that information, which generally you can't do in an off-the-shelf system. So we could build in a lot of security. As far as incentive programs, this is an example of an incentive program we did where it not only did a mapping. So the idea was, to the distributor, if you order regularly from us, we will generate leads for you as a reward. So our customers that we are doing advertising, whether trade shows or in magazine advertising, and they were even doing PR campaign, those customers would then go to their website, and on their website put in their zip code looking for the products. When they look for the products, the software on the web would go back to the ERP and only display those distributors that have stocked the product in the last 90 days. This is what the client wanted us to do. So that built a relationship. It was not just blindly listing distributors or dealers. It was only for specific product for all. So again, it's a very dynamic database, and it helped them build loyalty with those and identify those dealers who order consistently their product line. So these are all mapping with Google Mapping. It gives you a list on the side, and you know, obviously with Google Map, it would give them directions. They could print it out. They could contact them. All this. So those are examples of a reward program that we implemented. The dealers earn points and all that. This other one is about the way the screen can be laid out. So if you look at the screen, there is you can display all these information very efficiently. You can show them a summary as well as the details. So in the bottom is the summary order. Whenever you click on the bottom summary order, the green indicated that the order was shipped on time. So there's 47,770 records for this particular client. And because it's a custom program, we can make it extremely, extremely fast. We can optimize precisely to the client's database. So it would read their ERP, collect the data, efficiently show them on the screen, and then just by simply clicking on any record, it would show a smaller screen where they can see details. So as you can tell that this particular order was invoiced out, and then on the right, it shows you that the customer did pay, but they took an adjustment of $10. And the tabs are very similar to Excel style. Again, clients feel very, very comfortable having that. This is another one of those tabs. This is related, it's an activity tab, and it's showing you all the payments that they want to see. They can generate emails, they can generate statements to multiple clients or to individual clients. Again, the high number of records, 50,000 records. Mostly if you try to do a search in an ERP, most ERPs will take forever and you can't respond to people on the phone. And this client requested that we build enough speed that their people could have this information at their fingertips when they receive a phone call. Here you can see on the same thing, this time in the detail tab, so you can see in that order, the same order, which items shipped and what was the price for the items. Every one of the buttons, every one of the fields were designed by the client. When we do the prototype, they immediately catch on to what we're trying to do, and then they guide us. And they tell us, they even tell us what colors to use, whether they want it on the web, whether they want a mobile version, whether they want a desktop. So they tell us exactly what they need, and we collaborate very closely with them. So this is not our design or our idea of a design, it's their idea. We also provide them with, if they request, additional customization. So they might say each user might want to have different screens, so they can check boxes and create their own screen. And those screens can, or the order of the screen and all of that can be changed. So we will accommodate all kinds of functionality that the client feels is important in order for them to. Essentially what we're talking about is the last mile. Most of us are successful with implementing the software initially, and then we find out they don't use all of it. They use some of the most common functions, but they don't really use all of it, and within a few years they get frustrated, and then the business, the software doesn't meet the business requirement. So our ability to listen to the client, to work with the client, is the idea that we can deliver that last mile of customization that they need, which will allow them to use the software. And it doesn't relatively cost them that much, because when you're talking about a company that is doing 5 to 17 million in sales, $100,000 investment that will take them to 10, 15 years. You can tell this client, I'm showing data from 2008, and they're using the system. It's more than 8 years that they've been using it since it was finished. This is an example of an import function. I labeled it EDI because this was specifically used for EDI, and it's for Walmart. And again, we can manage the data, incoming data. We can help them validate it. We can help them make really good decisions, speed the process, do the corrections, do all of that, which normally an ERP system will not do for them, because things are specific to their business. In their case, they had overseas in Hong Kong, they had warehouses in Hong Kong, and they were delivering orders across the globe, to South Africa and all that, and they needed it to take into accommodate into all of that. This is even the check uncheck idea that it automatically validates whether they have products or the products will be there by a certain time, allows them to go forward. This is some more of those EDI screens. You can see the kind of mapping that we had to do. This is an idea of a color. The client said, when we're working, we would like to see every order we have in order entry. We want multiple screens, but we want it to show up if it's past a certain date. So if the order has been sitting there for a certain amount of time, they want the color to indicate to those customer service people that this order is sitting there and they need to follow up. So we can use color, we can use the web. The last part of it is showing you completely a web-based design, which your client was, they created in Excel, and they were using it in Excel, and we created it on the web for them, completely integrated with their ERP. This is again EDI. It's still EDI. This is a web-based system. They actually used it on Windows tablets. And you can see the buttons, they're designed so that they can touch with their finger. And this is a complete order entry system for, and it's very specific to the client. It allowed them to track time and material. It allowed them to track the inventory parts, which are at the bottom, and also serial numbers. So you can see that once we get to know their business, many of these clients will tell us to squeeze in a lot of information, which to us would look like, wow, that's way too much. But to them, this also had an approval process. So certain orders would have to go through an approval process on a portal. These are kind of the design notes that we made when we made a prototype, and they helped us adapt the program to their industry. Our approach is always that we're not the expert on their industry, but we can listen and we can execute what they tell us. It might take us a couple of tries, but generally we get it. Are there additional questions? Because some of these slides are very similar. They're just examples of projects that we've worked with.
We do have another question, AJ. It looks like, can you develop standalone applications, or does it matter what accounting system the customer is using?
Yeah, we can create, our software is all standalone. We don't really lock ourselves into specific accounting system. And so we work, the consultants that we work with, they are the experts on the accounting system, and our role is to support them with whatever add-on they want us to build. And the add-ons don't depend on the accounting system.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, AJ. Thank you so much. It looks like it's very flexible, what you can create with your custom programming. So, it's just a matter of understanding what the requirements, the unique requirements of the customer are, and maybe some of the pain that they're experiencing with the current, out-of-the-box functionality of their accounting system, or maybe they just want something standalone to address that pain that can feed back into the accounting system, or push or pull. Would that be a
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think what we find is that, and that's why I started with the books. Those are very valuable ideas to CFOs and CEOs. If we bring those ideas to them and start the conversation, we find that they have these pet projects that they've been meaning to, but they either thought it was too costly or they didn't think that they had the right technical staff. So it's a great way for a consultant who's providing software to actually gain a higher level of trust and deliver a lot of value to the client. That's what we found.
And let me share the results with you, AJ, of our poll. And it looks like 67% of the audience does have customers that request custom programming, and I'm seeing a few audience members who are actually end users of ERP, AJ. So it looks like they also might have some custom programming requests. I'm going to launch one more poll here and see if I can have everybody out there answer this last poll. Are you interested in learning more? If you could just take a minute to answer that. I see 50% of you have voted. All right. Well, thank you everybody for spending. We're a little bit under the hour, so we have some time to spare. Everybody, I'm sure, can use that in their day. AJ, would you like to close out with any further remarks? Thank you so much. This is a great presentation. You obviously have so much expertise in this area and value to offer. Any of the gray areas that a consultant might not have expertise in, especially in the distribution, retail, manufacturing areas.
Yeah, I mean, I would simply add that let's connect on LinkedIn. I put my phone number in there, and I'm sure that you can come back to this webinar. It'll be available if you didn't write down the phone number, but we will send you the phone number and via LinkedIn, and let's talk, because we both might have clients that we can collaborate and share. I think the goal is to just make their life easier. Very early on in the business, I learned that this is what it's all about, is to free up their time, reduce their drudgery. So we all are passionate about helping our clients, and let's work together.
And if you can, just flash up your contact information again, AJ. And I just wanted to add that in this ERP space, no matter what accounting system you're using, or CRM system, or software to manage your customer service, it is so important to collaborate, because everybody has their own set of expertise, and to be able to be more efficient in your business and automate your processes, that's really what gives you the competitive edge and helps you be more profitable. And that's what you're all about, AJ, and helping companies become more profitable and reduce costs.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. You take care. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.